This program is brought to you by LegendaryStrength.com. The content found here is for informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. It is recommended you talk to your qualified health professional before making any changes to your exercise plan, diet, or prescription medication use. Legendary Strength is not responsible for any claims made during this program.
Hello, Logan Christopher here, and in the podcast today we're going to be talking about going deep into bodyweight training. Really, since I've begun in my fitness career, I've always had a big base of doing bodyweight exercise. There was a time where I thought it was the, only and the best way to go, but, after getting introduced to kettlebells and then going on to lift barbells once again and feats of strength, I realized it's just one very good way to go, and by no means is it the only way you can possibly go, and by no means is it the best either. That being said, I still think it is one of the very best ways to go. Everyone that wants a good level of fitness, whether this is your average Joe or elite athletes, I think having some good base of bodyweight training, because this shows how you can control your body, is going to be a good thing to have. Now, of course, at the elite levels, if you're doing powerlifting, bodyweight exercises would be a good thing for balancing and for your health, but it won't necessarily help you add to your bench, your squat, or your deadlift. So, of course, there's going to be some need for specialization, but overall, for most people, I think it's a very great way to go, and shouldn't be the only thing you do, but a great thing to have in there, at least a good portion of how you work out, just for the average person. This is sort of what happens with people with bodyweight exercises. A lot of times they come into bodyweight training as an alternative to what they're exposed to. So the average person on the street isn't really familiar that there are people out there that, train exclusively with bodyweight exercises. When they think of bodyweight exercises, if they even understand the term, sit-ups, push-ups, nothing really beyond that. The average person will think that you can't get strong with bodyweight exercises. They're just for endurance, once you get beyond 50 reps. But even then, ask the average person to do 50 push-ups in good reps, and it's not likely to happen. So people, they may get hurt doing weights, or they're just looking for something different, and that leads them to bodyweight training. That's what happened for me. I'm sure many people listening to this, that's what happened for you. Once you get into bodyweight training and realize that you can really build phenomenal strength with it, stuff like handstand push-ups, one-legged squats, pull-ups, one-arm pull-ups, that sort of thing, and even higher level gymnastic feats on top of that, you realize you can go very, very far with this. And it goes even deeper and deeper from there. You get into the more specialized areas where people are doing really insane stuff. Areas like hand balancing, like gymnastics, like doing parkour, breakdancing, different things we'll be talking a little bit about as we go along here. So in my recent training, I've been spending a lot of time with the bodyweight stuff. Some of my main goals right now are working toward a one-arm chin-up, being able to do a straight arm press into a handstand, a few other moves like working toward the human flag, some different pressing movements, stuff like that, levers. So I've been working on these for a while, playing around with some different things. And just recently, the past weekend before recording this, I was down south where I conducted one day my How to Become a Ninja workshop. Actually, after realizing that was Beverly Hills, I was driving down there, I realized, oh, it's the Beverly Hills Ninja Workshop. Thought that was kind of funny. So anyway, in this workshop, we did a lot. It was really concentrated on bodyweight skills, the whole idea with the ninja, just being able to have that great control, having acrobatic ability. So we worked on handstands, we talked about all sorts of different flow and movement, as well as digging into the mental and energetic side, because this, it's things that you can do to really help you and get you past the blocks, because most people, even though they may say they consciously want it, we worked quite a bit there with motivation and getting people beyond the steps, the things that block them, through to the next level. So I had my one-day workshop. That was a whole lot of fun. The following day, I was at a different workshop with my friend Mike Fitch from Global Bodyweight Training. He was putting on his Animal Flow certification, and he invited me down there, and it was a lot of fun to get to enjoy that, to go in much more depth on the animal movements and specifically how he uses them. Seeing these in more detail, because when he released this video, which I highly recommend you check out, you can find it on Global Bodyweight Training. He has very different uses of the animal movements. Most people, when they're working with animal movements, it's traveling in straight lines, all sorts of different animals. Some people use more than others, but it's great as a workout like that. But with Mike, it's more of a focus on the form of doing them and doing them in correct form. I'm not a big form guy, but depending on what you're going for, there are specific uses for that, and using them as corrective exercises, as really movement patterns that you can look at and work on, working on them in correct form. But the main thing that I really loved about it was how he incorporated the breakdancing art into the transitions with the movements that allows you to flow, hence the name Animal Flow, from one movement to the other. So it was really cool stuff, really great to get to go in depth on these. And just working with the movements, I also saw how much of a crossover to hand balancing they had as well. They're great as building the strength and bodily control that you need in order to do handstands. In fact, after the workshop, I did a short interview with Mike. I got it on video on YouTube, but I'm actually going to play that clip for you right here, just so you hear what he has to say on this subject. Hello, I'm Logan Christopher from LostArtOfHandBalancing.com, and today I'm here with Mike Fitch.
Pleasure to see you, man.
Yeah, Mike Fitch is from Global Bodyweight Training, and he has some really awesome stuff. We just wrapped up a 2-day workshop on Animal Flow. You want to tell us a little bit about how you got into bodyweight exercises and how that led to the Animal Flow stuff?
Absolutely, yeah. I was at a point in my journey. I've been in the fitness industry for 13 years, and I was at a part of my life where I was just lifting a ton of weights, and I wasn't really enjoying the way that I felt, the way that I moved. So I started finding some other disciplines. I found Lost Art of Hand Balancing. I've got into gymnastics, free running, parkour, break dancing, circus arts. I started finding all the different branches, different disciplines. Mm-hmm. And the transformation in my body and the way that I moved and the way that I felt was so astronomical, and it was such a huge impact on my life that I wanted to share it with other people. And that's when I started Global Bodyweight Training, which actually this guy helped me get started. So thanks for that, Logan.
You're welcome. I'm glad to see how successful it's become. It's
an exciting time.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah. So with the Animal Flow, like I said, we just finished up a 2-day workshop. We're going through all these different animal movements, and it's really a different spin on the animal movements. Actually, there's some literal spins in there as well that you don't see in normal animal movements. One of the things I saw with a lot of these movements is how they transfer directly towards hand balancing skills, how it could be a great way to get started with movements that builds up that foundational skill level you need in easier manner. I mean, somewhat easier. Some of these are very hard movements.
Right, you're absolutely right. The cool thing about it is, rarely do we get the opportunity to be in what we call a 4-pillar position, and that's where we have hands and feet in contact with the ground at the same time. And a lot of these transfers and movements require so much scapular and shoulder girdle stability, strength, power, mobility, flexibility that has a direct carryover into hand balancing. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of the more advanced exercises, you'll see that there literally are points where you do just hand balance. Yeah. Yep. So as we transfer through from one movement to another, or we have these what are called levitating movements where we actually do stick and stall in a hand balance as you transfer through to another movement. So it's a great prep discipline for hand balancing. And also, as most other body weight training disciplines, the carryover is just it's easy. It happens automatically. So the Animal Flow is definitely a great plug-in to hand balance.
Yeah. So you've definitely done some specific hand balancing practice yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Obviously, where you got your start, but how do you structure your own sort of training? I know you're focusing on all these different other things. What do you typically work on these days?
Yeah, the funny thing about it, and we mentioned this in our workshop, and it's kind of like, how do you get good at hand balancing, you do hand balancing.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I'm still very much a student as much as an instructor, and I think I will be until the day I die, you know? And so hand balancing really is one of those things that if I don't keep it as part of my regular routine, then I lose the skill, you know, or my skills become diminished. So what I usually try to do in every single workout is I start with the most neurologically demanding exercise first, or skill building exercise. If that happens to be hand balancing, then I'll find that threshold movement or skill that I want to work towards, and that's what will start off my workout for the day. If it's something that's more based on free running or parkour, maybe flips, you know, and maybe whatever it is.
Always high skill movement.
Right,
first.
exactly. While our neuromuscular system is nice and fresh. But the hand balancing is one of those things where, like we also talked about, you know, there are movements like the planche and like other movements that I hope to achieve years from now. Yeah. You know, and that's where we get into that whole idea that this really is a practice, it's a discipline, hand balancing, all these other body weight routines, kettlebells, whatever it is. It's something that we can get better at all times, but we have to keep practicing, we have to keep that flow going.
Yeah. So if you had, say, one tip for people on how they can really improve in all sorts of body weight, just learning how to move better, what would you suggest to them?
Consistency.
Yes.
Consistency.
Yep.
How do you get better at hand balance? You do hand balance. How do you get better at muscle ups? You do muscle ups. How do you get better at pistol squats? You do pistol squats. Human flag, same thing. Consistency. You know, our bodies are amazing machines and they will adapt to almost any given stimulus. We just have to keep that repetitive stimuli in there, or else we have no reason to adapt. So, consistency.
All right, well, this is once again Mike Fitch from Global Bodyweight Training. Definitely, I highly recommend you check out his Animal Flow DVD or video you can get online as well. And I understand you're going to be having a hand balancing product shortly as well.
Yes, so we're starting work on our second DVD, which is a hand balancing DVD, which is, it's cool. It's going to be, it's going to have some of the basics like in Logan stuff, but also we're going to get into some of the B-boy stuff, so like some of the freezes. Yeah, so it'll be a mix of kind of different disciplines and how they approach hand balancing.
Once again, it's a crossover of the
different
different ones.
You got it.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. You should be too. Like I said, there should be a link somewhere around this video you can click. Go to this guy's website, check out his stuff, and be sure to follow him. Facebook, website, everywhere is that. Thank you, Mike.
Cool, man. Thanks so much, Logan. See you guys.
So like I said, in my recent training, been working on hand balancing. I recently joined a rock climbing gym. This was an idea I started to have, then my friend Marty Marzell from ferociousstrength.com, he was talking about it too, that elite climbers have such great hand strength. They're able to do one-arm chin. Many of them can do one-arm chins with single fingers. Of course, these are the elite level performers at this sport, but I figured that this might be a gap in my training. It'd be something fun, new to try, so me and my friend joined the gym, and I have to say, I'm having a blast at it. Rock climbing is a lot of fun. I'm both doing the bouldering as well as belaying, so climbing the big walls and the short walls, and quickly my skill is improving with it. Even though I have quite a good level of strength, this is something that is completely new to me and to my body, so I'm not able to immediately apply that strength into the movements. Specifically, I felt like, having gone into this, that before my fingertips were weak. Yes, I did the grip strength stuff, all sorts of things there, so on some levels it was, but it didn't feel as applicable into what I was doing. Now I did feel like I have a base, and learning some of the technique, then I'm better able to transfer those skills, the strength in my hands from doing feats of strength and grip work and that sort of thing, over into the bouldering and the rock climbing. But it is somewhat different, so it did take some time, and I'm still quickly improving. Along with that, of course, I'm taking some classes to learning the skill of the movements, like learning how to place your hands, how to place your feet to make the move so they're actually able to do it. If you're not familiar with rock climbing, they have different paths, both while you're belaying and while you're doing the bouldering, that are rated different difficulties. So on the bouldering, I'm still working through V1s. I can do a good number of those, but not everyone that they have there. Haven't hit a V2 yet, but expect to be able to do it pretty quickly now. So having a lot of fun with the rock climbing, and having started work on that, I feel like now my fingertips are much stronger than they were, building up the tendon strength in the fingers so that they're stronger. So it's going to be interesting to see how this carries over into, the other grip work, the feats of strength, when I start doing that more regularly, because I'm doing a lot here, and with the hand balancing, it is quite a lot of volume on the fingers and the wrists, so I got to keep that all balanced. Can't work on everything all at once. So I'm working on that, and we're talking about going deep into bodyweight training. There are a couple other areas that I mentioned before that I haven't really gone deep in. I've done some gymnastics, so I've learned some of the tumbling acrobatic skills, doing some basic stuff along those lines, and even recently, leading up to Ninja Workshop, I wanted to regain some of the skills I had, like the backflip, getting to the point, or I'm at the point now where I can do pretty much anywhere, anytime, easily do a backflip, but there are levels beyond that I can go, and working back up with the other skills. So front back handsprings pretty easy. If I work on it some more, I could probably get my aerial back and get that to a good level. But some of the areas I haven't gone into are the breakdancing or b-boying. This would be something interesting, and in the future I could see myself doing it, taking some beginner basic classes with that, because it's phenomenal to watch. And like my buddy Mike Fitch, once you have a base in that, then you can see if there's connections you can put into anything else, and that's a very important point. Another one is parkour. I've just minorly dabbled in this. Once again, watching videos that other people do is phenomenal. I have some friends, know some people that do it a whole lot. At this point, I haven't done much with it. In the future, I definitely could see myself doing so. Having the foundational tumbling skills that I have, having some ability in that, that is pretty close in some ways to parkour, so I could then, if I decided to move into that full force, I could probably get some decent results and get some good abilities pretty quickly doing it. So that's some couple ideas. There's other things like capoeira that people talk about, the handstand acrobatic correlation there. So there's all sorts of different areas of bodyweight training that you can possibly do. And this is what happens. I was talking about a introductory person getting into bodyweight training, realize that you can really go far with strength in this. Then they may see that, people are doing stuff like handstand push-ups. This is what started me on learning how to do a handstand. I was doing handstand push-ups, or working toward those, because when I started couldn't even do one. Took a good amount of time, but eventually I was able to crank out handstand push-ups against the wall. Somewhere around that time, I've told this story before, my friend did a handstand. I was like, oh, I really want to do that. So having gotten that base in bodyweight training, that led me into doing handstands, led me into doing hand balancing. And so some people, having started in one area, may choose then to go very deep, to specialize in one of these areas I've talked about. So you may wish to then really go far with your hand balancing practice, really go far with just some of the basic strength moves. May decide to go very far in rock climbing, may decide to go very far with breakdancing or parkour. And if you choose to do that, by all means, go for it. Go really as far as you can go, because if you do want to become the best in the world, you are on quite a big level going to have to specialize. But there's also a good amount of value in doing basically what I'm doing, dabbling in all these different sort of things, taking some time to specialize to some degree for a short period of time before moving on to the next. And this way you learn how to control your body in all sorts of different manners. You get a good base level of skill in all sorts of different things, and then you have good connections between the different areas. So for instance, with the animal flow that my buddy Mike Fitch came up with, he took some animal movements and he basically added some breakdancing elements. As you heard in that interview there, he is going to be coming out with a hand balancing DVD. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what he has to do on the subject, and he's going to be incorporating once again a little bit of the breakdancing elements into it as well. So that should be a lot of fun. Having this base now that I have with rock climbing, if I can even call it a base, I may be able to apply that strength into doing some of the gymnastic feats that I've been working on. One of the reasons I got into it specifically was to build that fingertip and forearm strength, hoping that that would help me, along with specific practice, of course, toward the one-arm chin-up. Still early to say what the end result on that is, but I'm working on it. So I'm also spending a lot more time in my hand balancing practice and choosing right now to go further with that. When you get to these really high levels of bodyweight training, for the most part, it's more skill based. To do tumbling, to do parkour, to do rock climbing, to do hand balancing, all takes a heavy amount of skill. And in order to build that skill, you need a lot of consistent practice. Now, of course, with this stuff, it also takes a high level of strength, some things more than others. So what you need to do is actually be able to combine to build your strength without going into overtraining, but also build your skill levels, again, without going into overtraining. And if you can really get these two things up, then what you accomplish is really up to you as far as where you want to go with these different areas of bodyweight training. So we've talked about quite a large area of different things you can be working on in the realm of bodyweight training, which of course is just one realm out of physical culture. In the future, we'll be going into more depth on bodyweight training. If you do have specific questions, would like more details on specifically how I'm approaching these specific movements, be sure to ask and I'll be happy to answer in a future podcast. So like I said, in my training, lots of rock climbing right now, lots of hand balancing practice. While working on these two things, I am not doing as much of the regular strength training with bodyweight exercises, nor lifting weights nearly as much, because it's working so much of the pressing, both straight arm and bent arm, as well as pulling strength from the rock climbing, and grip strength involved in there. Now with the legs, that's a little bit of a different manner. I've always felt that you can't, well, I guess I can't say I've always felt, but for the most part, last few years, I felt you can't get quite the same workout for your legs with bodyweight exercises as you can for your upper body, both pushing and pulling. Yes, there's great things like doing any sort of jumping movements, hill sprints, one of my favorite exercises, pistols, one-legged squats. Those things are great, still the same level. I don't feel like it's quite there. So I do and am currently still working on deadlifts, as that happens to be one of my other goals. As far as doing some more leg training, yeah, I should do some squat exercises as well. But how you're going to approach it is all up to you. We've covered a lot of things here. I'm going to be releasing some videos soon, some from the workshop, some just bonuses I put together, some areas I haven't really covered before in bodyweight training, as far as building, a basic level of acrobatic ability, a basic level of hand balancing ability, a basic level of just basic bodyweight movements, movements that I feel if you call yourself an athlete, you should be able to do. And this may sound a little haughty to some, that I say everyone should be able to do these, but really, like I said before, the idea of being able to control your body to get it to do what you want to do. There's really a level where you can't do anything, and I've seen some people that can't even do a somersault, for instance. There's a level really you can move in all sorts of basic ways that the body should be able to move. Basic strength level to do push-ups, pull-ups, but flexibility involved in there, being able to control the body for just basic foundational skills, and then of course there's another basic level of acrobatic ability on top of that. So if you're interested in this, just be sure to watch my emails. I'll be releasing this all soon. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. Going to cut it a little short today. I do want to mention in the next podcast I'll be covering my whole 30-day raw vegan experiment. It's been interesting. I'll be wrapping it up in just a couple days and be able to report to you all the details on that, what went well, what was easy, what was difficult, some things I learned out of it, and just being able to tell you all about it. So look for that in the next podcast. And for now, we're going to shut it down. Like I said before, if you have any questions, comments, would like more details on any of this, just be sure to let me know. Comment somewhere on the website, shoot me an email, logan@legendarystrength. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast where we talked about going deep into bodyweight training. Thank you.